What up, world? Let's go. People start logging in. What up, family? Love y'all. We getting right. This is going to be the first one. Let's kick it off pretty. Let's kick it off well. Let's do it right. I see y'all. Thank you for joining. It's going to be beautiful. Welcome to the inaugural very first StreetCode Live Unlimited. I see you out there. I share your excitement. Sending love right back to y'all, man. Sending love right back to y'all. Man, we need it. This is the time. We need it. I feel good. I'm prayed up. And we ready to rock. Let's go. We got 1 minute. We're going to start. Thank y'all for joining. Send out the link. Post it. Share it. Hit the love. Send the love. Man, we need it. We need it. Bless y'all. Bless y'all. So let's kick it off. It's 6 o'clock, and we have probably 59 minutes and a couple of seconds before Instagram is going to kick us off. So let's make the most of this time. Let's kick right into it. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for joining. This has been a dream come true, 2 years in the making, and I really have to give my hat, tip my hat, and just really express my gratitude for the folks behind the scenes. You'll see a couple of them today, but behind the scenes who really made this happen. Brother Frederick Alexander, you'll see him on there. This is Frederick on there. Squint Tamalu, you'll see him on there. Squint's on there, and Miss Cool, you'll see her. She'll show up. So this is a really a team effort that has made this happen, and I'm so honored to be your host. My name is Olatunde Shabomahin. I get the privilege of being the lead servant CEO of this organization called StreetCode Academy. And I'll talk to you a little bit about what we do, who we are. But tonight is important because the heart of StreetCode is to share it with as many people as possible. And we started this thing, we had 20 students. Last year, we served 1,500 students. So to see that kind of growth in the span of 5 years is beautiful. And we knew there was something special that happens when community come together. And so we felt that magic. We were a part of it, and that happened locally. But what happens when you share that with the globe? And this platform right here, Instagram and other platforms that have been so, necessary, especially in this moment, allows us to share that magic with the world. So this today kicks off this opportunity to share what we've been able to feel in East Palo Alto, in Bellhaven, in Menlo Park, and share with the rest of the world. So thank you for tuning in. I'm sure there's people from around the world joining today. And if not today, I'm sure it's going to keep growing. So thank you so much. And so here's what we got. StreetCode Academy. We talked about it. We're based right here in East Palo Alto. I'm coming to you live from my house right here in East Palo Alto, which is in the heart of Silicon Valley. It's a self-governed community of color that's built on the power of our communities. And we have people of all ethnicities, backgrounds, races in this small 2.5 square mile town in the heart of Silicon Valley. And when you think about Silicon Valley, you think about innovation. And when you think about innovation, you think about the money that goes into it. Menlo Park is the heart of venture capital. When you think of Silicon Valley, you think of the startup. Palo Alto has the most startups per capita. When you think of Silicon Valley, you think of new ideas and emerging technologies, and Stanford University is down the street. But let me tell you what's necessary for innovation. It's the heart of community. It's the passion that pushes forth social justice. It's the passion that puts forth service. And so East Palo Alto has its rightful place in the heart of Silicon Valley. And that's what we represent. That's what we share. And we've been building hack, hustle, and design, which all means coding, entrepreneurship, and really the creativity that goes into innovation. We've been building that, our own innovation hub, if you will, right here called StreetCode Academy. We've been hosting classes. Like I said, we started with just 20. Now we serve 1,500 of all ages. Our youngest student is 3 years old. Our oldest has been as old as 85 years old. And there's going to be folks that even break that record. So we welcome you. No matter where you are, we have our mantra is innovation for everyone. So we're here to serve you. Now, that said, that's how we started. That was our vision as we started, right? How do we make innovation for everyone? How do we really do it? But 3 weeks ago, our world has literally flipped upside down in many ways, right? I want to be careful with my words because I don't want to see it as something that it's not, right? And it's in the midst of this, we have a sister named Wadina Croft, who has driven the heart of our classes for the last year or so. And she talks about it's in the midst of our greatest challenges that we can see some of the greatest improvement, some of the greatest strengths. And so we've seen that world is sometimes flipped upside down as many see it. And we said, what are we going to do to make it right side up for so many of us? And that's what's happened. We've come up with an idea to make what we've seen in our physical classes happen online. And we've called that StreetCode Live. So today we are launching not just online, we're calling this the Unlimited, but we're also launching classes. If you go to StreetCode.us, you will see a link to all the online classes that we are providing. These are classes like Intro to Code, Junior Street Code, Junior Game Design. So young kids who are playing the games can actually make the games. So we're not just the consumers, but we're the producers. We're talking about classes like TechX, that no matter how old you are, no matter what language you speak, you should have an inroad to understand technology. So we have those both in English and in Spanish. We have classes like senior game design for people who are making games. We have app design. And these are all led by phenomenal instructors who have experience in the technology industry, but also have experience with our communities. Shout out to all those instructors. Shout out to all the students. We are near capacity. We've sold out. We have 13 sessions. 9 of them are already sold out, so there's still room. So go to StreetCode.us, no matter where you are in the world, and sign up for those classes. That's called Select. So that's what we've done. We've wanted to bring our heart to this technology platform, and that's what we're doing in the midst of this. All right. All right. Well, this is going to happen every Monday. This is called StreetCode Unlimited. It's available to everyone in the world. We see a couple of dozen of people are already on there now. We know it's going to continue to grow. And so this is going to happen every Monday. Today will be like an orientation. We'll hear from a world changer. If you don't know, Mr. Shaka Senghor is going to join us today for a conversation on how to really, on how we should, in our community, should really see the tools. What's our mindset? What should it be as we design our future? What kind of skills do we need to tap into our future? That will happen today. But every other Monday, it will be hosted by someone, not myself, but around some technical aspect. Next week, we have coding. We've heard about coding, but what is it? How can we get started? How young do you have to be? How old can you be? Talk about that. We'll talk about music and tech in the future, in the next week. We'll talk about engineering design in week 4, entrepreneurship. We'll talk about app development, and then we'll talk about how to make a digital presence for entrepreneurs. Clap your hands virtually if any of that makes some sense, because this is my first time on live, y'all. I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna stop right now and just see if any of that made sense. I see somebody laughing at me, so that must mean it didn't make no sense. So give me, oh, thank you, cool. I see the loves. Okay, thank you. It made some sense. Now, I'm gonna bring up somebody who is the mastermind behind this. Her name is Koo, and she has been part of the team on StreetCode. In fact, she was a student. She took a class on web design, was a student, and stood out so phenomenal as a student that we eventually brought her on. And she's a full-time staff member here with us at StreetCode, and she is going to be a correspondent, and she's going to be working every week to make sure that we really do this thing right. She has given me tutorials on how to do this IG thing because I have not been on here. And I want to know, can you join me right now? We got some hearts. We got some hand claps. It seems to be making some sense. But Koo, can you join on, fill in anything I've missed, and then make that happen? Koo, I'm waiting for you to request, and then we're going to keep it moving. Yeah. Thank you all. Joining. She's smarter than me, so hopefully she can make some sense. For those of you, there she is.
What's up?
We doing it.
We matching.
I know. Yo, and these shirts, it won't take long before these shirts are available online. But cool. Thank you. First of all, thank you for what you've done to make this happen. Thank you for making a dream come true. You know, your brother, our brother Frederick, has been and Squint have been moving on this and praying on this for some time. So it's been a blessing to have you on the squad. And so can you tell the world what you're going to be doing? What's your role? And anything else I missed on this StreetCode Unlimited?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have done a great job so far talking about this. Thank you so much for the introduction. Everyone, my name's Ku, and I will be through the questions. So if you have any questions for Tunde or Shaka, as they're talking, I will be going through, seeing which ones that they can ask at the end and answer at the end of it. And yeah, just keep the questions coming. I know we have some questions already. So if you have anything on top of what they're talking about, we're going to try and make sure we don't miss anything and can get your questions answered.
No, thank you so much. And I mean, you've just compelled me on the power of the interactivity of this platform, right? The fact that I can see what's going on, and so I can't see everything, obviously, because this is my first time doing it. And I'm a rookie on this. But the fact that we have Yuku checking questions, checking feedback, checking comments, and making sure that we are doing the best we can to serve what you really want and making this a valuable hour spent, she's going to be the one doing that. So I appreciate you, Ku. Please send the questions. Any questions on classes, any questions on StreetCode as an organization, any questions on what we could do to make this better, please hit the thread, and your sister here, Ku, is going to make sure that we can answer as many as possible. Thank you, Ku.
Thank you, Tunde.
All right, all right. So here's the deal. So anybody who's been to StreetCode before, you can just post on there what's your favorite part of the StreetCode experience. Your favorite part of the StreetCode experience, right? We got classes. We offer free food. We've given transportation. We've taken field trips, right? We have mentorship. We have tutoring hours. We have all these things that happen offline, and we're now trying to bring that online, right? And it's a lot, right? So we've had, right now we have Onyx Village Connection, who's been our provider for food for ever since we started. They are passing out food, right? We've had tech support. We've had translation. We have all that now online. We're trying to do our best. But one of the parts that we love, the community support, is that's Brandon. That's my brother Brandon. All right, sorry, y'all. I'm getting excited just seeing people on here. But one of the best parts that we've had, I think, offline for me has been to bring our full selves, right? And so I'm right here from my living room, and if you see my children run by, that's part of me, right? If you hear something break in the background, that's me, right? If you see my wife come by and give me a kiss on the cheek, that's me, right? We are a family of 6 that's right here in East Palo Alto. That's all of us. But another part of us is our huddle ups and our vibe, right? I mean, and our prayers, right? So we kick off every class, at least in many of our classes, with prayer. And so I just want to kick us off with a prayer before we jump in with really the highlight of today. If you have not sent it out, send it out, because Brother Shaka is on standby, and we are going to bring him in after this prayer. However you express your faith, we want you to do the same. I'm going to speak for my faith and just invite a spirit of unity into this right now. Lord, thank you for all the work that has happened to make this possible. Lord, I thank you for the sister Juanita, who brought to our forefront such a beautiful phrase. Even in the midst of challenge, that is the moment when we could see growth, and we could be better off. So Lord, I pray that as we get stories full of heartbreak, Father, that we would also celebrate what is happening in the midst. And so God, I just pray that this is a part of the good things that are happening. I pray that we could unite through this thread, however people are coming through. I pray for our brother Shaka. I thank you for the brother Squint, who can reach out to his family and just bring on a brother with such a perspective to share today. I pray that your words come through this thread and that it will be something beautiful for our audience today. Thank you for all the teachers who simultaneously are working to make curriculum happen so that we can continue to move in the mission we do. And we're excited. Some people ended with Ashe. Amen. I'm just going to say amen and keep it moving. Thank y'all. Now, Shaka, if you are there, can you please request a situation to be added? I know you a pro. You got 25,000 people following you, brother. So I know you a pro. Hit me with the request. I don't see it. All right. Nope, that's not what we want. All right. So I'm having some difficulty here. I know it's not Shaka's fault, but it's mine. Let me introduce the brother before. Oh, there we go. Thank you all for being patient with my internet. We got 6 people on our internet, and they all got 2, 3 devices at the same time. So thank you so much for being patient. I think we're going to see the beautiful Shaka Senghor.
It's good. It's good, bro. How's it going? How's it going?
It's beautiful, man. It's great to hear your voice. I'm waiting to see your face. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so grateful for Squint and for you for making this happen. And I still don't see you, so I guess I'm waiting on my internet.
Yeah.
How you doing today?
I'm blessed. I'm blessed. It's a blessing, man. It's been a busy morning, busy day, but nonetheless, we still here, so I feel good. Thank y'all for the warm welcome. So I guess people can see me. You can't see me, but it looks like other people can see
Now
me.
I can.
Okay, all good. All good. Good.
Well, look, I'm sure there are so many people who know who you are, but brother, you know, and I know brothers like you don't move from the introductions, but let me just share a little bit with the world in terms of who this brother is. There's not many people. If you let Squint tell it, right? Squint said that you would have a brother like Barack Obama on speed dial. You would be FaceTiming with Oprah Winfrey, right? And if you read your bio, you can see the quotes from Oprah Winfrey who said speaking with you was one of the best or the best interviews she's had. And to me that are we getting some feedback?
No, I'm good on my end.
Okay, I'm sorry, brother. You know, it's my first time, so you got to forgive me.
That's all good.
No, but I'm saying that there's not many people, right, who have that kind of reach, who move audiences in the way that you do. We talk in writing and speaking and thinking. And so I'm just happy to have you on. You know, the names that we talk about, New York Times bestseller and Wall Street Journal and ABC and et cetera, right? These are just pieces of the world that have been moved by you. And what I know, because I know you through Squint, that there are people whose names don't even show up on there who are moved by your life, man. So I just want to appreciate who you are. And I want to start off with this. It's not an official oh, someone says it's Tune's earpiece. I'm sorry, brother. I am just.
That's all good, man. It's good. I'm getting love for the bookshelf. People love the bookshelf. That's what's up.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Look, my question is this: in a world, my first question is: in a world, right, where people are struggling for work,
yeah,
what were you doing this morning?
Oh, I was working this morning. So speaking of Oprah, I actually was on a call with Oprah this morning, working on, getting some information out regarding what's happening. And then I had a couple other. I had a podcast. I had to do with a group of lawyers. And then I woke up to a phone call, man. One of my longtime mentors, he served 47 years in prison. He come home in a few weeks, and he was just calling me, letting me know what the conditions were on the inside. So it's been that kind of morning where I'm just up, using my voice in whatever way I can to get this message out about what's going on inside prison, but also like what we can do out here while we're going through this quarantine to really show up in a healthy and whole way.
You say it better than any of us, man. Bless you on the front lines. And let me start with your mentor. 47 years locked up.
47 years.
That means if he came out, you know, forget my math, but if he's coming out in 2020, 50 years ago, it'd be 1970, right?
Yeah.
Roughly. He came in 1970, coming out 2020. Can we start off with what type of, how the world has changed from then and now, especially in the world of innovation and technology? Can you speak to that and just speak to what kind of tools he's going to need now to be able to position himself to be successful in 2020?
Yeah, I mean, it's an unbelievable the growing curve that he's going to have to undergo just to adjust to the world as it is now. You know, when I went to prison, like the internet wasn't even a thing. You know what I mean? So when he went to prison, like, I mean, you're talking about the Stone Age. You know, the 70s. You know, when you know I was just born. You know what I'm saying? When he went to prison in like 72. So, you know, you have to imagine like a whole bunch of, you know, things have changed. That's 2 generations ago, basically, you know. So, you know, it's going to be tough, you know, when he get out, for him to navigate the world. The great thing about him is he's really smart. He's like brilliant. And so I think he'll be challenged by, you know, his intelligence it'll be a challenge for him. So to get him excited to like figure it out and learn. That's kind of what happened with me when I came out. I had to learn all this stuff in real time. And, you know, and it's a lot to take in. You know, it's like, you know, you coming out and he has to catch up on 4 decades of, actually almost 5 decades of a world that's vastly different from the one that he left, you know. And that's why it's so important for people to have support when they get out, because the world has changed. You know, people have moved on, people have died. You know, the world looks very different. Technology is continuing to grow and evolve. And so, you know, he's going to need a lot of support. But, you know, I mean, he's fortunate. He got a few of us that'll be there to, you know, shepherd him home.
No, salute. And I'm as optimistic as you are for what's going to be, for what's in store for your mentor.
Yeah.
Look, we talked about some of the publications that you've been quoted in. You've been quoted in TechCrunch. I'm going to read it. There's a lack of connection between what's happening in our criminal justice system and what's happening in the world of technology. What did you mean by that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, the reality is prison is a very different world. And because of the restrictive nature of it, oftentimes things that can be advantageous for men and women coming home in a healthy way, they have limited access to. And so for a lot of the brothers and sisters on the inside, their first interaction with technology is when they get out after having been gone for long years. So they don't even know how to use the basics, you know, phones, emails, you know. And I mean, it's not unilateral, because I mean, like, there's 50 different systems in America. But it's a lot for people to catch up on. And then when they get out, it's increasingly hard for them to even find work in some of these spaces where, you know, tech companies could actually hire these people coming in at an entry level and get them an opportunity to come home healthy and whole.
Nah, man. Okay. Let me ask you something. You've been exposed and have really moved yourself to the top of what technology can offer, even around every aspect, right? Venture capital, etc. What kind of mindsets do we have to have? Because our goal at StreetCode is to provide mindset, skills, and access to our community so we can be leaders inside this industry. What kind of mindsets do people like your mentors, do you yourself have to maintain to be able to become impactful in these industries?
No, I mean, I think that's a great question. You know, one of the things that I realized, like, my mentors and my peers, you know, meaning the brothers that I really grew up on a yard with, you know, we had to do a lot of internal work. You know, we had to get over that, You know, we had to get over the inferiority complex. We had to get over the child abuse and neglect and, you know, the low self-esteem and all those things. And we basically, through that process, developed a championship mentality, right? And what I mean by that is, you know, for those who are sports fans, right, it's easy to follow a team when they're in the playoffs and when they put together a winning team, right? Like, it's easy to be a bandwagon and, you know, and rock with your team or whatever. You know, it's hard to be with your team when they're losers and when they don't have, you know, the type of coach and leadership and things like that. But a champion shows up the same way no matter what team they're on. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't matter if they're, you know, 0-15 or if they're 15-0. A champion's going to show up no matter what, because what champions understand is that winning is a mindset that starts from within. It doesn't start with whether you had a right squad. It starts with how you show up in the world. And so, you know, I came home, I didn't have anything, you know, but a winner's mindset. And so for everything that was an obstacle to other people, I saw as an opportunity. You know, I saw as an opportunity to grow. I saw as a challenge. I saw as, you know, something that I'm going to learn from. And if I learn, I haven't lost. You know what I mean? And so winners, that winning mindset is really understanding that has to be there regardless to what the circumstances is, you know? And so that's how we show up in the world. And then we challenge each other. You have to be willing to have people around you that are solid, that's really going to push you to be your best self. You know what I mean? And demand that of you. Like, you know, one of the things we always did as a crew, like we would meet up, we would talk, we would be like, hey, this is the game plan. This is what we're coming out to do. How are we going to do it? You know? And, you know, a few guys fell off because they really wasn't built for that. They wasn't championships. You know, they weren't champion. They didn't have a champion mentality. You know, they were great support, and people got to know what their role is. You know what I'm saying? And everybody's not built for long-term high-level success. Like, that's a mentality that nobody can give you that. Like, you got to develop that through, you know, learning and reading and studying and really challenging yourself. You know, like challenging yourself. Like, what is your inner being? You know what I mean? Like, what are your weak areas? What are the areas that you need to strengthen? And so that championship mentality, like, that's why I don't worry about my mentor after 47 years. I know as an intellectual, he'll come run circles around people because he's wired a certain way, you know, and like anything less than that. And he's a funny guy, right? His name is Gangsta Al, right? Gangsta Al would come and walk up, like, he mentored me in this weird way. Like, he would walk up and he would give me a book and then just walk away. And then he wouldn't talk to me for like a few weeks. You know what I'm saying? And then he'd just slide up on me and be like, so in chapter 8 on page, you know, 139, paragraph 3, what was such and such talking about? And then I'm firing right back to him like, yeah, on that page right there, he broke this down, and this is what I agree with, this is what I don't agree with. And then we'd get into a big debate, and then he would just walk away. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, that challenge, that intellectual challenge was something I thrived. I used to go to the library, man, with my other elders, you know, and I would check out like 7 books. You can check out like 7 books a week. And I would be done with them in about 4 days. And I would go back, and they'd be like, you didn't read all these. And then I'd be like, yeah, I actually did. And so we would get into these long, drawn-out debates. I mean, they got heated debates, you know what I'm saying? But what I learned, man, is that self-mastery requires a deep understanding of the way that your brain processes information, and how you show up in the world based on that information is going to dictate what you actually learn versus what you actually remember, because those are 2 different things. So yeah, that challenge, man, was something that, you know, drives it. I mean, like right now, you know, I'm good in the hood, but, you know, I can also speak on any platform and talk to and engage in any person, you know, whether it's academic, whether it's entrepreneurship. And it's because I had incredible mentors and really dope peers that challenged me to be the best version of myself that I can be.
Wow. No, salute to a king. Salute. Look, my last question, because I see there's a lot of comments going, and I'm looking at these, so I want to get to some of these. But look, my last question is, I know how important you feel as a father, and just raising up the next generation in a moving world. And we talked about mindsets, which you're gonna have a champion. Any of your any people in your circle is gonna have that. But what kind of skills? We have, tried to provide as many free classes to our community to provide skills that we think are important. But what kind of skills do you think are going to equip people for the future, especially now?
Yeah, no, I think what you all are doing is incredible. First of all, because it's really challenging the idea that we can't compete in this space where other people basically are winning like crazy, right? And so I think there's a few things. I think emotional intelligence is underrated, especially when it comes to our community, and to inner city kids who are growing up in these hard scrabble backgrounds. Like emotional intelligence is like the highest priority for me. Like when I think about my son, I don't worry about his capability because I know he has those things, right? So what I try to reinforce is this winner's mindset by affirming him every night. So every night we do affirmations. And it's important that not only do we do the affirmation, that he understands exactly what they mean and why they mean them. And it shows up in how he performs when he goes to school. He's a thoughtful leader. He doesn't, because he doesn't have that insecurity about whether he can compete because he's not in competition with anybody. You know what I'm saying? So for us, it's like really building into all the other things is that emotional intelligence, that thoughtfulness, the ability to give back in a way that's not driven by guilt or driven by lack. You know what I mean? So when we show up, it's like we're giving back because we want to in the most meaningful ways from an empowerment standpoint. Not because we feeling bad because you're down on your luck, but no, because we see the greatness in you that needs a little bit of support, needs a boost, but also needs to be challenged. We have to learn how to challenge each other in spaces without it being like, oh, this person's a hater, or because I disagree with you don't mean that I hate you, it just means I disagree with you. And we should be able to discuss that, and we should be able to engage in a really intellectual conversation that allows both of us to grow. And anything short of that, then we're doing a disservice to our people. So with my son, he challenges ideas. He has his own opinion. I don't have like, that heavy-handed, this is what I do, so you got to do. Like, no, he has opinions about things, and sometimes his opinions are right, because kids are born genius. We goofy ass adults, we disrupt that, you know what I mean? So my thing is to create space for him to grow and evolve and get out of his way and let him do what he do. So, but I think, as far as the next generation, like everybody's not meant to be an entrepreneur. So we have to really cultivate the idea of being a great teammate and a great partner. That's one of the things that we lack in. Everybody want to be a boss until it's time to be a real fucking boss, right? Like nobody wants to be a boss right now because the bosses don't get stimulus checks. The bosses end up having to let people go, and and it hurts to not be able to make payroll and things like that. So there's requirements and that we have to start really thinking about, and a lot of that comes from within hip hop culture, right? It's fed people on this false narrative that everybody's a boss, and I love, and this is no not to hip hop. I'm a hip hop fan. I listen to hip hop nonstop. It's probably my primary music source, but there is a element that creates a false sense of what it means to be a boss. Like you don't just wake up one day and run the world. Like you got to work. You got to have a work ethic. You got to show up when other people are not showing up. You got to be up working, and even that grind mentality, right? Like I tell my son all the time, like we work smarter, not harder. You know what I'm saying? If I can accomplish what I need to accomplish in 3 hours, like that's amazing to me. Like if I can do in 12 hours in 3, that would be brilliant. You know what I'm saying? So I'm always thinking of like, how do I work smarter and really put the work in so that I can have the time to parent. I can have the time to be present with him. And so it's just a different thing. So I try to move away from the grinding narrative to more like the building. And I mean, it's hard because I'm from the streets, you know what I'm saying? So that word is so, encoded in my DNA where it's like, grind. So I just try to reframe it like build. I want to build with people. I want to connect with real people that's moving culture. I want to support people in their development the way that I've, been supporting my development.
Nah, thank you for all of this. And one of the things that just keep popping in, and people are reposting it and re-saying it, that they're smarter and harder. I don't see it as I don't. It's a great foundation, right? To have a strong work ethic is a great
Absolutely.
foundation to build. And when you put on there the smarter piece, that's it, right? And so one of the things that, I know this feedback is terrible, but I wanna hone, if you can, on some of the nuanced technologies that have helped you advance your work. For example, you're a top-selling author.
Mhm.
What technologies, and storyteller and speaker, what technologies have helped you advance that piece, right? To get your to build your platform broader, to get your message out wider. What technologies have you used to make that happen?
I mean, the oldest technology known to man, our intellect. There's no technology greater than that, right? Because it's the source from which everything else is born. And so for me, it was a matter of like understanding, obviously there's the science behind technology is what allows things to scale, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that science had already existed. You know what I mean? Like it's when you get to the core of building a brand, and you get to the core of really growing. A lot of it is your humanness, because that's going to make the difference, right? And our intellect, I think oftentimes we undervalue that now because we're in the world of technology. We undervalue like the computation power of our brain, And so for me, it was always being able to pivot when it was necessary. It was always being able to seek advice when it was necessary. It was always being willing to learn the things that I didn't know that would help me. But I think the most critical thing is being able to delegate responsibility to people who are equipped to do the things that I'm incapable of doing or I have no desire to do. Because those are two different things, right? Like, and when I say to work harder, not smarter, like, yes, I can work really hard and learn a whole bunch of coding and things. That's not who I am as a person. So when I think about working smarter, I can identify the person who that's their thing. That's what they do. And then how do we combine our resources to build something meaningful? But literally 90% of it was showing up, and betting on myself. And when like people was like, listen, just get out, get you a gig, and you'll be fine. And I'm like, it took me a while to realize I don't like working for people. I like working with people, but I don't like nobody telling me what to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just the reality. Part of it comes from growing up in an abusive household. The other part comes from being in prison where people were like, hey, do this and do that. So I had to do the emotional work to understand, okay, this is who I am, and to be okay with it, and then figure out how do I build this thing out. And so, the way my journey went, everything was process, right? And what I mean by that is like, because we hear like a lot of athletes be like, trust the process, right? Because everybody drops these jewels, right? But they don't get into like, what does that actually mean? And so for me, I came out with a very intentional idea of what I wanted to do. I wanted to get out. I wanted to sell these books. I wanted to hustle books out of the trunk. I wanted to take that money, invest it into real estate. I wanted to take that and invest it into all these other different things. But when I came home, the market had changed. And nobody was interested in street lit the way they were, 8 or 9 years before I got out. And so I had to make a hard pivot. And that pivot was, I realized that my ability to communicate ideas was at a high enough level where people would pay me for that. And so I went from setting up book signings where 15, 20 people would show up and I would sell 10 books to actually, inserting myself, and I volunteered a lot. So I was like, as long as I can sell books here, I'll come speak for free, because I was betting on myself and my ability to communicate in a way that when I get done, like, you're going to buy one of these books. You might not read it, which I didn't care, like, just make that transaction, but you're going to buy a book. You can use the jack your couch up. You can, whatever you do with it, don't matter after we made the transaction. But that was a very hard pivot, because I'm a writer. Like, at the core of my being, the thing I love the most is storytelling. I love writing. So, it was like, that was an egoless decision, though, because if I would have stuck with my ego, I would have kept on that same hamster wheel and never grew. You know what I mean? And then the other part, like, what I try to embolden my son with is the idea to go into spaces where you're not comfortable at, and show up in those spaces as your whole self. Because the only thing that's going to happen is you're going to learn something. You're going to learn what you like. You're going to learn what you dislike. And you'll come away from that as a better, more fuller human being. And so for me, everything, the process was like, okay, this is not working. What do I need to tweak? How much of this is my ego if I stay the course? And it's been the best gift I've ever given to myself, man. It's like that ability to tap in, you know, to the deeper part of our thinking. And it's one of the things I think we take for granted, but we're seeing it now. Like this is what one of the greatest gifts that this quarantine is giving people right now is innovation. People are thinking, they're like using their brains in a different way. They're not being distracted by a whole bunch of things. I mean, it's like DJs are like, yo, I'm about to DJ a whole set for 10 hours straight. Like that, something was triggered in that deeper part of his being that oftentimes we forget, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, that's what happens, man. When you really tap in with yourself, you start seeing the next level of like what's possible for yourself.
No, I love that. So look, here's my last question for you, brother. And well, I got a couple of bullets under this question. One, I want to know, you know, where people can keep hearing this, right? We only got it for an hour. So how can we buy your book? How can we hear from you more? And the last question I think you should take us home with is what's next? You know, I mean, you gave it a little bit of pivoting. You talked a little bit about making the most of this moment. You talked a little bit about putting yourself in positions where you're uncomfortable. So what does that look like for you in this next chapter?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. So I'll start with the easy question, which is where they can get the book at. This is the book, Righting My Wrongs. Life, Death, Redemption in American Prison. New York Times best-selling author, which was a whole nother crazy story. I have to tell you that story another time. But where am I going now, right? So when I originally wrote the book, actually, let me just show you. Let me show you. I didn't want them to see I'm really rocking jogging pants with a button up. That's how I've been working all day. I'm like,
hey, I don't want to stand up. I'm doing the same thing.
So when I first wrote Righting My Wrongs, I actually self-published. So this is the original book. So it's only about 5,000 people in the world that got this book, because this is what I sold out to Trump. So I started off, I self-published this in 2013. And, you know, that's when I made that hard pivot and started speaking more. And so this is the first book I published. I write fiction. Published this one. I would go speak. And then what happened with people would be like, yo, you're so articulate to be somebody who's come out of prison, right? And then I followed that one up with this, volume 2. So these were my first 2 books I was hustling when I came home. But I kept getting that, you know, people was asking the question about the backstory. So I was like, and I used to be like, you know what? I don't want to write about my life. I want to write fiction. I want to write fiction. So this is one of them hard pivot moves, right? People kept asking about it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to write this book. And so I ended up writing this volume, self-published it in 2013. And so I hustled this book, bro, literally out the trunk. And how I actually it evolved was, I was speaking at this place, and I happened to look at the list of people who was going to be there. And I was like, man, this is an amazing group. And I went to my partner at the time. This was my son's mom. We're no longer partners, but we were partners at the time. And basically I said to her, I was like, yo, this is an incredible group. I feel like we should send 100, you know, books out, you know? And she was like, well, I think we should think about that. You know, that's a lot of, you know, the margins, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And I'm like, I mean, we was broke. We didn't have no money at the time, you know what I mean? But I was like, yo, I gotta bet on me this time. You know, I gotta bet on me. So I basically sent the books out, went and did the talk. And a hospitality suite. We get to the hospitality suite. This brother comes up to me, really athletic, built brother, clean shaven. And he says to me, man, I'm really disappointed in you. You know what I mean? I'm really upset with you right now, you know? And I was like, man, oh, here we go with one of these brothers that's like, he done did it the right way and he got his judgments, you know? And I was like, well, let's talk about it, you know? And he was like, man, I'm upset with you because my wife won't come out of the room. She's in there reading your book, you know? And so I was like, well, let's go have drinks then, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So me and the brother ended up having drinks, but his wife who's a really good friend of mine now, named Andrea. She used to work. She used to be the president of Harpo's, or one of Oprah's companies. And so she gives the book to Oprah. She gives this version of the book to Oprah. If you watch if you watch my interview with Oprah, this is the version she's reading from.
Wow.
So she doesn't have the new version. So Oprah gets the book though, and Oprah says, why would I read this book with this guy on the cover, like he looking, thugged out, his bars behind it, his, arms folded, and it's talking about, what I was in prison for, right? And she said she just kept moving the book around her house because she don't throw books away. And then when she was moving her company from Chicago out here to LA, she was like, let me just see what this guy is talking about. And she literally said she got to about page 50. It was like, I got to interview this guy. And so we do the interview. I still didn't have a book deal in place, though, when we do the interview. But I knew that, it was something powerful can come out of the talk. So I asked her, would she be willing to hold off the interview until I got a book deal in place, you know what I mean? And got the book ready. And so, she pushed it to the next season. Her and I became really good friends. But, that's an example of like trusting your instinct, you know what I mean? Really trusting yourself, betting on yourself, and not really, giving up. And so I say that there. So that's where I'm at with the book. I actually just got another book deal for a new book that I'm writing now. Hopefully that'll be out sometime next year, depending on if the world is still here, given the way that things are looking right now. But I'm working on that. But even when I was on tour with this book, when I was on tour, I went through this very emotionally challenged thing. I was in New York for about 3 days, and I did about 16 interviews. In the last interview, the journalist wasn't that skilled. She was still kind of new. And I found myself being a little bit short with her, and I just recalibrated. I became present in the moment because I know that's not how I want to show up in the world. And, I helped her get through the interview. And then I stepped back and I was like, okay, why was I feeling like that? Like, why did I have these feelings, right? And I realized that I had been emotionally traumatizing myself by telling my story over and over and over and over in a very short window of time, right? And so I knew that, my voice is important in this space. I've done a lot of things. I've shifted the culture in a lot of different ways. And I knew I couldn't just retreat all the way. And so I was like, you know what? I need to figure out how to tell these stories in a different way. And so I looked at the landscape. I knew I wanted to write for television. I knew I wanted to write film. And I was like, okay, what is the entry? What is the on-ramp, And I ended up deciding to write a stage piece, which I ended up getting commissioned for. So I got that in the pipeline. We're still building that out. But then just in the last, couple of years, I've done keynotes all over. And I'm like, I want to do something different, more creative. And so now I'm creating a one-man show that's based on a journey, of the writer's journey, right? So I'm taking people literally on a journey from when I first began writing to where I'm at in the world today. And it's the crazy thing is just like damn near like a stand-up comedy because it's more fun, it's more light. I get into like all the real shit, but it's a lot more of like who I am as a person just in general. Like I laugh and joke most of the day, you know what I mean? And so a lot of that comes up through the thing. So that's what I'm working on. I'm working on a new documentary and doing some dope stuff with Squint and Crowder, that crew up there, Crocker, that crew, they've been, just basically just, man, them guys are so dope, man. Just the way
that's the power of this, fam. That's why this happened.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, so that's the next thing, man, is getting this live production up on stage. I'm working with the singer Aloe Black. He's like, yo, I just want to rock with you on that. So we're figuring out how to do it now that we can't like be in proximity. So I'm recording over the next couple of days. I'm just recording the pieces that I wrote and sending them to them, and they'll be putting music with it, and we're playing around with it like that, man. But that I'm doing that. I'm doing consulting work. That's what I do in my day to day is I'm consulting with companies, helping them kind of figure out their company culture, helping them figure out the different ways to manage fast growing companies. And I mentor, man. So I got a school up in San Fran, Burton High. I've been rocking with that school for 4 years now. You know what I mean? I've been rocking with Burton High School for like 4 years. This teacher named Lauren Stupek, she got 300 of my books from a friend of mine, Matt Haney.
Yeah.
And, you know, yeah, so they adopted that. They adopted my book 4 years ago. So every year, whenever I'm up in the Bay, I always pop in the classrooms. I go do a speech in front of the whole freshman class. But then I actually just randomly go, you know, I'll be like, yo, what's up? Where the kids at with the book? And then I'll just come in, man. I'll spend a whole day just in the classroom chopping over the kids. So I try to do that in different spaces. I'm working on partnership. I think it's a school up there, June Jordan. I'm working on a partnership with them to just do this work. And then Squint's going, you know, obviously I'm working with you guys.
Yep.
And I tell people this, right? Like that part of my work, like that's non-compensated work. That's passion work. That's what I love. You know what I mean? Like I love building with young people, you know, and I think it's important that when we do make it to these spaces that we actually come back. Like it's cool to give money to the, you know, the United Negro Fund and all the other things, but I can tell you, man, them kids, it's something about you continuing to show up for them that really matters to them. You know, like when I go in to speak to the freshmen, I'll be walking down the hallway and the juniors and the seniors are like, Shaka, like they literally, I feel like I'll be feeling like, I feel like Steph Curry up there, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, you know, like seriously, like it's the only time I ever feel like it's so humbling because these kids will literally follow me around the whole school and they're telling me about, you know, how this chapter impacted their life or how the conversation we had when I was there. And like, I try to challenge so much, you know, more of our people to like, yo, this is what we got to do. Like, this is the dope shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, all the other stuff is cool, but like, it's so, cause it's fulfilling for me. Like I guarantee you I get as much out of it as these kids get. You know what I mean? Cause I'm like, you know, we chopping it up about sneakers and music and life. And, you know, and it's just a blessing, man, to be a blessing to them and have them pour that back into me, you know?
Man, wow, what a chapter is beautiful. I mean, the next chapter is beautiful as it's been. My connection's been shaky in the last half of this episode, so let me just give a heartfelt thank you, and everybody on here can salute and throw the fists and throw the loves for our brother Shaka, who has just influenced our world. Count ourselves as one of the many that you've touched in this world, brother. I can't wait to connect in person when it's supposed to happen. So. Bless you, brother. Thank you, fam. And love to you and the family.
All right, man. Appreciate y'all, man. One love, man. Y'all stay up. Sure. Shout out to all the crew. I see a lot of people showing love. I can't scroll through all the messages, but, you know, mad love and respect for y'all, and I appreciate y'all the way that y'all stand up. I love the Bay, man. Like real talk. I'm from Detroit, so I be feeling like I'm home when I'm up there because it's like the same type of swagger. So I can't wait to like really lock in with a school up there that whenever I'm up in that area, you know, and I mean, obviously the academy is a space for sure. So it's dope, man. I'm looking forward to we getting up this quarantine and spend a bunch of time up there with y'all.
No, but no, thank you. And you can stay on, bro. I got a couple of things to say before we head out in general, but let me just link it to Detroit. So one of our founding board members is over there. She's a Polynesian sister who is an electrical engineer. Her name is Marlena.
Oh, that's what's up.
And her husband grew up here in EPA. And now they're out there. And they are trying to bring essentially what they helped start here over there. And Detroit's at the head of the pack. They doing this kind of work. Like you said, when you got that innovative mind, you're gonna find what things you need to learn to make it happen.
Absolutely.
But they're trying to bring their piece, and her being one of the only Polynesian electrical engineers, that's a way to plug in. What you just helped us do tonight was to launch what we've done in the Bay and try to make this be available to the world.
Absolutely.
And so many people have done it in their ways, but we knew what you had to say was going to link in a population of people that don't always understand how to tap in. And so I just want to thank you on that behalf. I want to remind everyone, if they can still hear me through this crack situation, that we still have classes that are free. We try to work with people here locally to give you the technology you need, whether it's a laptop or whatever, to play our resource to help you use the intellect that you have to help you pivot, to help you take advantage of the situation, and just to be as great as you are. So, and like you said, this is an honor for us to be a part of that journey.
Yeah.
So just want to thank everyone for joining.
I appreciate
Want to
y'all.
thank you for being patient with our technology. I know we're supposed to be the ones providing it, but we sometimes struggle with it.
Yeah.
So thank you, Shaka, for holding it down.
Oh, for
Bless
sure.
you. Thank you, everyone, for making this possible. And see y'all next week.
Salute, man.
Peace, brother.
All right, peace, y'all.